Hello my loves, I'm Ellie Frost. Thank you so much for liking, subscribing, plugging into this channel where we are talking about rapid transformation in ourselves after narcissistic abuse cycles, healing from trauma and stepping into our authentic power and abundant, most fulfilling lives, right? It's not just about surviving something, and healing isn't just, I don't live in suffering anymore. We actually align with our soul, we come into our purpose, which again is just your most fulfilled life, right? But you know what's fulfilling to you step by step. And I wanted to talk today about learned helplessness after narcissistic abuse, because this is such a destructive situation on every level. It destroys your energy field, it destroys your body physically in terms of the trauma and PTSD symptoms. I use the word PTSD, not CPTSD. CPTSD is just a form of PTSD. And when we call it complex, we're still buying into this thing in the world that's making this so complicated, when what I do on this channel and the tools I give you make things simple. So yes, it's a little bit of it's a variation of PTSD, so I'm calling it PTSD because adding the word complex is making us think that this is so hard to heal, and that's part of the problem. It's not that hard to heal, yeah, when you know how. I didn't know how, it took me years, but now I've helped heal many people, and I've healed myself, right? So it's not helpful to add complexity. Genius comes when we take complexity and make it simple, and that's what I try and do. I try and look for the genius. I try and find the simple ways, and that's what I found. Yeah, processes, my core sovereign, that actually hacks through the complexity, makes things simple, gives you the tools you need, the right tool for the right root cause. So I don't use the word CPTSD a lot because it's a form of PTSD, and adding the word complex makes you feel that you've got this big complex thing. One thing that I was adamant about was seeing therapists, seeing doctors, whatever, this is years ago, I wasn't going to manage my symptoms. I wasn't going to manage my panic attacks. I wasn't going to manage my kidney problem when I was told I was going to die at 15. I wasn't going to manage anything. I was going to find a way to heal from it, right? I don't want to manage anxiety and make anxiety my thing. I know beyond that, right? So how do I transmute it, transform it, and then share it with others? That's what I'm here to do, and it works. So I don't believe you have to manage shit in your life at all. I don't believe that because I've shown myself and other people now, a lot of other people, that you don't have to at all. Whether it's poverty, whether it's disability, you don't have to. It does require personal power, right? I'm not saying like you can just watch a video and your life will change, but I am saying there is a way through that you don't know about yet. And I am saying there's a way through. I've seen it. I've seen it with so many people now. I know it in every cell of my being. Yeah? So I don't think that any of what you've been through, any of what you're suffering is supposed to be a life sentence. I think you can be set free. I know you can. Yeah? I can't tell you exactly how long it will take. Yeah? I can't, well, but I know it doesn't have to take a long time. I know that. Because I know when you align with your vibrant self, your well self, it's actually instant. It's like when you align with abundance, like the change comes in an instant. What it takes you to get the quality of energy, and consistency in your energy more than anything else to be the energetic match to that change can take time. But the actual change is a matter of alignment, and alignment is when you're an energetic match, which I'll talk more about. So honestly, like the actual healing happens pretty fast. It's getting you into a state where your body's regulated, your belief systems, and your use of your mind. Yeah, we're not taught how to use our mind, so they're racing out of control, being fired up by the chemicals in our body. But when you know how to use your mind that serves you, yeah, then actually it's not that fast. I mean, it's not that long to heal. It's very fast. In fact, for me, like when I had chronic panic attacks, when I healed that, I mean, they were just gone. It wasn't like, oh, I'm having one a week. No, gone. When I cured my kidneys, I mean, I was told I was going to die. I almost died twice in narcissistic abuse and at 15 from this kidney thing. And every cell of my being just was no to this. I didn't want to have an operation. I've never had an operation, right? I didn't want to go into hospital. But I had to dig deep. And I was really like an intuitive and a channel, I guess, but I was. But, into finding something. But what I found through all the things I've healed in my life and worked with other people on, the actual change is pretty instant. Or fast. It's just what it sometimes takes to get them into the state to be receptive and able to align with that reality. That's the work, but it can be instant because it actually is instant. So that was panic attacks. After like I built this career, I traveled the world, I'd done things that were brave, I was courageous, I'd led businesses. After narcissistic abuse, like when I first came to America, all brave, moving countries, backpack on my back, my 2 dogs, you know what I mean? I was going for it. I was a courageous woman. I had panic attacks. I still hadn't healed from narcissistic abuse fully, but I didn't know it was narcissistic abuse. I thought I had anxiety and other things. And I got to a point after being with this business partner that I did life and work with that I was living in an RV with him at one point. I was horrendously affected. I didn't have the confidence to do anything. I thought everyone was coming to get me. I'd hear a noise, I thought someone was coming to get me. And that can sound a bit crazy, but it wasn't at all, because what had happened in my life was I had been targeted over and over again. The community, as soon as I started to rise in my success in my career, I had bullies come at me all the time. Everything was wrong with me. I had women coming up to me and saying, how can you run that business with those teeth? I was working my butt off, doing something and where is the people saying, my God, that must have been hard to move countries. You're working a lot, you're doing a great job. Oh no, how dare you? How dare you be a CEO of a business with those teeth? I had people come and offer me, I didn't know about narcissism. This business partner, this is what it's like with the love bombing stage, seemed to be the person that knew my soul. He would say things like, you're divine, but it wasn't a compliment, but he could see the spirituality in me, and he was ready. He was a big old demon. He was ready to knock it down. But of course, as a psychic, like I teach you, I couldn't connect. So I was relying on my intellect, not my knowing. I thought it was my problem. I thought my psychic gifts and intuition isn't working here. No, the narcissist is soul detached. That's why I couldn't connect. So I was relying on my brain, and this man was very smart. Very, very smart. This man, like when I met him, it was at my birthday, party. Now there was a woman I'd known in America for 3 years. I'd been coming back and forth from England to America, and I was doing, by the end of it, I'd built a community, I built clients. I was doing 2 weeks LA, 2 weeks London for a whole year, right? And that was too much. I was ready to relocate. But I'd known her for 3 years, and we talked a lot. And we met up every time I was here, and I'd come and do, like she had a mastermind group, I'd come and be at her mastermind, support her, and she'd support me, right? So it's my birthday. I live in Newport Beach, which is a beautiful place in California. And we go to a bar, it's got live music so we can dance and stuff on my birthday. And her birthday was the same week as mine, right? She brings this guy, let's call him Big D, Big Demon. Big D. She brings Big D, and I assume they must know each other. She's a great networker, but the way that she's brought him and one other lady that I know she worked with to my birthday, it seemed like they must be great friends. And he had, what I found with this guy was he had these huge networks, right? But it turned out, I only found this out when I'm like literally stranded in parking lots in his RV after he's just decimated my entire life and taken all my, his life is booming, by the way, because he's using all my skills. He's using my energy. And for the first time in ages, he's thriving because he's sucked from me. But I started finding out a lot later that everything was a facade, but it was huge. Like some of them, they all have schemes and networks, but this was huge. So like when we first met, we were going to do these business deals in Vegas, like the networks, the people he introduced me to, and it seemed so solid. He knew how to say things and act like they knew each other for a long time. All of them were new connections, but they were great connections, right? And at the time I was helping people with their messaging, personality-led brands, socially conscious leaders, like get together, like really get clear on their message and how they want to do their soul work and how they can make a bigger impact in the world. So like, it was so right on in so many ways. But the day I met him, when he asked for my number in this club, I felt like a no. Then he'd got my number or something. I think maybe I gave it to him. Maybe I had too much wine by the end of the night, because I think he asked again just for business reasons. And I felt no, but then I couldn't connect. And so I was relying on my mind, and he was such a manipulator. He had taken me he had no regrets. This is how evil they are. My ex, the last narcissist I was with romantically, was the most malicious, spiteful person on the planet. I've never seen evil like that, in terms of seeing a woman that you have lied to and betrayed, and just the amount of betrayal and spite and hate to, like, I don't know how he can live with himself, like what he did, but I do know, because he's a narcissist. He's got no soul and he thinks it's great. He's not sorry. He's not miserable. He's not in pain. This is what they do. It actually gives them power. So he was that. This one, I mean, I think it was a game to him. I think it was like I was a target and it was a game. But by the end of it, I was ruined. I felt ruined. You're never ruined, by the way. But like, I was scared of the entire world. I was scared of the entire world. Someone who'd been so brave. I had problems in terms of anxiety, but that's normal, you know. Most people have anxiety over things, and I was always on a growth journey. I was always on a personal development journey. It's normal, like, to have fear. It's normal. But like, I'd been so heavily targeted, and I don't know. I don't think it is that crazy then to be scared of the entire world, to be thinking that people are going to be sent around to come and get me. That was how it felt. That's what I'd been through, and that's why my mind was reacting. I did heal from that when I got into the romantic relationship and had a little bit more to learn. But like, the reason I'm giving you this example is because I want people to know and really know, because there's all these assumptions people make about this, and you do learn to be helpless, but people think it's because of them, and I'm telling you it's not. It won't matter who you've been before, right? Because I'm an example of someone that I think shows that it's absolute lies what a lot of people say, which is, oh, I heard the other day, you know, like, they think it's a certain type of person that gets caught up in this, and I'm saying it's not. You can be strong, you can be confident, you can be a lot of things. You are targeted by a narcissist, and then the results of it, which again, there was a comment on something, and I was saying, like, it should be sanctioned, and it's not intangible. All victims have PTSD, all victims lose their sense of identity, all victims go through the same thing. It should be criminal. Like, it's pretty obvious. Like, it's such a clear pattern of what the narcissist is. They follow a pattern, and it's very obvious when you actually know what to look for, what the victim is going through. So, learned helplessness. This can happen. It happens. It's part of this. In fact, what happens is you're so desperate and insecure, you've got no sense of safety in the world, that you cling to the narcissist, the most dangerous thing on the planet, because you've learned to be helpless. So when I got into this romantic relationship, it was straight after this situation. I'd managed to get onto playing ground. So I got out, and that's a miracle. It's another story, how I actually got away from this guy. I would have died in that situation, and he didn't care. I think it would have turned him on. He was really, I mean, they're all sociopaths, by the way. They're all pathological liars. They're all on that spectrum. You haven't got to get into too much detail. This is just distortion. But like, I got away, but I suppose my weakness in the next one was, one, not knowing the information I share here, and two, I really needed love. And then I got with someone who just set out to destroy my heart, did awful things again, but in a different way, presenting this love, presenting this stability, presenting this stuff. I'd fought, I'd left that, I'd got out of this situation. I actually healed in that situation. I started channeling and I healed. I healed from being scared to go out the door. I healed from being scared of life. I took my power back, and that's part of what I teach you in Sovereign. I started claiming sovereignty there, in hell, in absolute hell. But I was looking for the warmth in the world. My world had been so bleak, yeah? And then I got with the covert malignant narcissist, who was anything but that. But again, I didn't know what I know now, and I was desperate for love, and that's what he showed up with at the beginning, or it seemed to be. Far from that. I could not believe the spite of that man. Like, my goodness. And he's 14 years, it's not an age thing, but he was 14 years older than me. I'm sure that was a little bit still of the, especially a man, and a much older man feels safe. Yeah. He's got 2 kids, grown up kids. You think, well, how could you? So I'd learned to be helpless. And then that had set me, I still needed to be loved externally. Yeah. I collapsed into the next one, his illusion of something safe, because I'd felt so unsafe in the world, right? And it was very fucking far from safe. But it was different. It was different to what I'd experienced, because the last guy was an overt, very charismatic. This guy was leading with his victim story, very covert, highly manipulative in a way I've never seen before. I hadn't seen this before. I hadn't seen this version. So how do you get out of the learned helplessness? You have to understand, right, that there's nothing that wrong with you, that these are very normal responses to what you've been through. I think that's what I'm really trying to explain. And when you get it like that, it's as simple as not judging it, right? So it's what I teach you in self-partnering, being self-partnered with it and seeing that actually it's a rational response. I was heavily targeted. No wonder I was scared to go out the door. I'd been in a war zone. People were going for me. Everything I owned, everything I had, they would take and they'd be proud of it. Yeah, the first guy, the business partner, the fact that I lived in a beautiful place on Newport Beach, he was jealous as hell. And like when he ripped it out of my shreds and then took my gifts and started making money in his business for the first time in 3 years, or in the sense that he hadn't been doing that well. And then I was really, his life starts getting better and my life's going down the drain. He was proud of himself. They take. The romantic one, I'd learned to be helpless, I suppose, in my own sexuality maybe. Like he was very manipulative. He made me feel terrible and he knew he was doing it. He would objectify me and use me like, I don't know, it was a very strange dynamic, but like, it wasn't the person I was before. It's part of this, it's part of what they do to you. What I'm saying is there's still power in you. You just can't connect to it. I could never be the person I was before, by the way. I'm a better version now, to be honest, but like, she doesn't exist. I integrated her, but I kept wanting to, it's part of the learned helplessness, I kept wanting to go back to who I was before. I can't. I'm never going to deny what happened to me. I went through some awful things, terrible things, right? But I'm also healed from them. So like this part of the learned helplessness is like you learn to be so dependent on the narcissist. It's beyond codependency. It's absolute dependency. They are your source of love, survival, anything in the world, and that's all to do with the manipulation. It is the Stockholm syndrome, when the person that's hurting you is the one that also gives you a bit of relief, right? And you're so desperate, they've got your body desperate for dysregulated, they've got you so desperate for some relief that they're the relief, right? So it's just part of it. Go through the videos on psychological healing, PTSD, everything. Get your body in regulation so you can think straight, but don't think it's anything you can't get out of. It's not. But like, it's designed to make you helpless. It's designed to make you dependent. It's designed to strip you apart. And part of the problem is you want to go back to who you were. You'll never be that person again. But you can be a stronger person, but not in a way that you have to hate the world or be scared of it, just in the fact that you will never go through this again. But denying it and trying to go back to what was doesn't work. So now you've got to rebuild, become sovereign and rebirth in where you now are. That's kind of what I'm saying. Yeah? And that's a beautiful thing, because that's real self-love. Because self-love really comes from self-acceptance and seeing that there's nothing wrong with me. Yeah? I went through some horrible things that should never have happened. I can't go back to being the person I was. She doesn't exist in the same way, but she can be integrated. She was a part of me that I'm not rejecting, and I'm not rejecting the part of me that was abused, and I'm not rejecting any parts of me anymore, right? They're all welcome, and that's self-love. And they mean nothing about who I get to be now. Because now as I come into my heart and soul and align with my truth, there's something greater than all of that, something beyond all of that, something that is untarnished, untethered, unviolated, untouched. Yeah? That's sovereign. That's authentic power. All right, my loves, lots of love. Thank you for being here. I'll speak to you soon.